Okay, there we go. All right, welcome to the South Florida Water Management District Recreation Work Group, the public forum for recreation from Orlando to the Keys. And we welcome hikers, bikers, birders, airboaters, hunters, anglers, campers, horseback riders. If you recreate on any of the 600,000 plus acres of district land that's open to the public, you're welcome to participate in this meeting either here or on Zoom, and welcome to our Zoom people as well. We start the meeting with Mr. Drew Brockett, who's the Executive Director of the South Florida Water Management District, and the gentleman that has a lot to say on what happens on the properties, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Newton. Don't take anything from the thunder and lightning going on while I'm speaking. There's no tempest coming from my voice. Again, thank you, Newton, for all your service and bringing us together to talk about it. It's very valuable to the Water Management District and very valuable to me personally. It brings me engaged directly with the recreational community, and I don't get that opportunity too often. So since the last recreation meeting, you know, I've implemented some policy, a policy decision there that basically takes a revenue source that we get, not a big one, but a revenue source that used to just go into the general kitty from selling some canal reservations that we have from history, and puts those dollars straight into our recreation lands. Instead of it just going into the kitty and getting spent on gasoline or stuff that we spend money on, it's going straight into maintaining, upgrading, whatever's necessary for the rec lands that we own. And so we will start, like there's a bunch of restrooms in our STAs that need to be upgraded. I think those of you who use our STAs understand that. So we are working on that this year. Whose thunder am I stealing on staff? Someone's, I'm sure. All right. So there, you know, that's the sort of result of that that I thought was very important for us to implement. Another thing we took away from a prior rec forum was we were going to lose a boat ramp in 3A as a result of a SERP project, the Everglades Restoration Project. So the district stepped in and said we can't lose that, and we just finished building it. So we have a new boat ramp by the 356 structure in 3B, not 3A, in 3B. So I think I'm going to go down and see that on Friday. And then we did hear you last time when we talked about how to use our STAs when you're recreating in our STAs. And there really wasn't, we don't have a guidance or a document or anything that kind of explains how we should use our STAs. So we're working on one. It is not ready, but we're trying to put one together so that hunters or bird watchers or whoever's out there knows the value of them and how we want to take care of them and how they can help as they move to recreate inside those STAs. So like I said, I get a lot out of these, and I really appreciate, Newton, what you do to pull us together, and I look forward to today's discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it very much. Let me just get through some of the housekeeping. Public comment we would take after each presentation. We would take public comments first from the people here in the room and then go to the Zoom. We do not have a time limit on the discussions and public comment, but obviously it'd be nice if you stayed within 2 or 3 minutes, 3 minutes. I have a soft gavel, but we do actually converse back and forth at this meeting. So if you have to ask a question, you might get an answer from someone around the table or from one of the staff. If you're not at the table, we encourage you to sit at the table because, again, that's where the mics are and where you can participate. Be sure to turn your phones off, which I did this time. And members of the public who wish to comment may use the raise hand feature on the Zoom. If you're on the phone and would like to comment, please press star 9 to raise your hand and star 6 to unmute. If you're having trouble, please go to our website and click Ask Us, and we will connect with you. We have a history of probably 15 years of this meeting ending at 8 o'clock. We will be done by 8 o'clock, and so that's the only time that we have that we stand on. So the first thing we've always done, and we will do again, is around the table, the people who are here, we will ask, and we will start to the left and go around the table. Just briefly state your name and who you represent, if you represent an organization. And if you have a brief opening comment that you'd like to make about something that your organization is doing or something you'd like to talk about sometime during the meeting, you do so, but keep it brief. Now, there will be a time later in the meeting when we will go around the table again towards the end, and you'll be able to basically, as we watch the clock, expound on whatever issue you might have. Is that okay? All right. So we'll start to the left. Rich?
Rich Virgil, I'm the Division Director for Field Operations, which includes the land management section underneath it. Thank you.
I'm Mike Kirkland. I'm the Senior Invasive Animal Biologist for the district, and I'll be giving a presentation today on Python programs and this year's Python Challenge.
Good evening, Rory Feeney. I'm the Land Resources Bureau Chief at the district.
Tom Reinert, Regional Director for Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission.
Zach Chajanowski, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, Interagency Python Management Coordinator.
Buddy May, Kissimmee River Valley Sportsmen's Association.
Jerry Bridges, KRVSA.
Brad Wyrock, KRVSA, Florida Airboat Association.
Kyle Archecki, Broward Airboat Club.
Fernando Gonzalez, Broward Airboat Club.
Chad Weicker with Broward Airboat Club.
Bishop Wright with the Florida Sportsmen's Conservation Association and the Florida Airboat Association.
Matt Nelson, Florida Sportsman Conservation Association and Lake Okeechobee Airboat Association.
Scott Summer, Florida Airboat Association.
Larry Daniels, Florida Airboat Association.
Tom Schmidt, Florida Airboat Association.
Bo Moyer, FFSCA.
John Rozier, Full Track Conservation Club and the Everglades Coordinating Council.
Richard Martinez, Florida Chapter, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers.
Jean Matthews, Palm Beach County Parks and Recreation Department.
Steve Canoyer, Florida Paddling Trails Association.
Rachel Buckley, Florida Paddling Trails Association.
Dorsey DeMaster, Florida Paddling Trails Association President.
Hi, Rolf Olson, Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge.
Veronica Kelly, Park Ranger, Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge.
Jennifer Brown, Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge.
A younger Riddick, land manager covering Polk, Osceola, and Orange counties.
Hi, Greg Nolte, project manager with the Engineering and Construction Bureau here at the district, and I'll be presenting on SEP North.
Josh Wilsey, Florida Fish and Wildlife.
James Harbaugh, recreational planner, South Florida Water Management.
Emily Johnson, I'm with the district's Office of Counsel.
Mike Cheek with the district, recreation project manager.
Hey, good evening. I'm Justin Nolte, the section administrator for the district's land stewardship section. And I'd like to point out that somebody is conspicuously missing today. Dan Cotter couldn't make it today. He's over in Italy right now.
Molly Brown with the South Florida Water Management District.
All right, thank you, Molly. And folks on Zoom, don't be bashful when it comes time. Raise your hand. You will get an opportunity. And please introduce yourself when you do speak on Zoom, because we are being recorded. And if you don't say who you are, it will not go on the recording, and we won't know who you are. Okay, let's get started without any ado. Our first presenter, we're having an update on the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge, and Veronica Kelly, the park ranger, will be making the presentation. And thank you, Veronica.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Veronica Kelly, Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge, and I will be giving the update tonight on the visitor, where we're at on the visitor services plan. So just a little bit about Loxahatchee. We were established in 1951. We have over 145,000 acres of Everglades habitat. We welcome over 1 million visitors annually, and we have 3 different entrances to the refuge, and they're marked on the map up there. So there is 20 Mile Bend on the north end, the headquarters area on the east side, and the Hillsborough area down at the very south end near Parkland. So the refuge is part of the Urban Wildlife Conservation Program. So what does it mean to be an urban wildlife refuge? So it basically just means that we are within within an hour's drive of 250,000 people. So we're actually within an hour's drive of over 6 million people. So the big part of the urban program is working a lot with partners, working on transportation issues, engaging our community. And so we want to make sure that everybody around us feels welcome and included and can have a voice in nature. So the hours of the refuge, so our visitor center hours have stayed the same since the visitor services plan. So we're open from 9 to 4 daily, closed on Thanksgiving and Christmas. The headquarters area is open from 5 to 10 daily. And then from the visitor services plan, we opened up the Hillsborough area and 20 Mile Bend. So those are open 24 hours a day. The visitor center, if you haven't visited, you totally should. Open 9 to 4. Go see the front desk volunteers. They're going to give you brochures and maps, tell you about all the cool wildlife that has been seen on the refuge. We have some amazing exhibits in there. There's one room that you just walk in, and it's the Everglades at night. So for the people that don't necessarily get out onto the refuge at night, it gives them just a little bit of a taste of it. So there's a video that you can watch about the refuge, learn about special events and guided walks and tours. There's a nature store with the Friends of Loxahatchee, butterfly garden outside, and most importantly, we have bathrooms with air conditioning. So different recreation opportunities on the refuge. So number one thing is we have the Everglades. And you can enjoy that. There's over 50 miles of hiking, biking, and paddling trails, opportunities for birding and wildlife viewing and nature photography. So many events and educational programs. This next slide is going to have a QR code for our events calendar on it. So get ready to get your phones out if you want to. But boating in over 140,000 acres, opportunities for hunting and fishing, pet walking and horseback riding were both 2 new opportunities with the visitor services plan, and then lots of opportunities for volunteering. So our events and programs, we kind of have them broken down with environmental education programs, and those are geared towards Florida state learning standards. And we welcomed almost 1,000 students to the refuge last year, and we are revamping our environmental education program, so more to come on that. And then guided walks and tours, things like tram tours and bird walks, ethnobotany tours, night walks, lots of different special events. So our Everglades Day celebration. So I already see a typo on the slide. It should be Everglades Days because we revamped that a couple years ago. So February 10th through the 17th. So mark your calendars. There's going to be a lot of really cool events going on. And then we have multiple family fishing days throughout the year. We just wrapped one up on this past Saturday. It was National Public Lands Day and National Hunting and Fishing Day. And one of our partners, Real Fishing Charities, come out and helped us teach, I don't know how many kids to fish. It was an amazing program. Walk for the Wild is coming up in October, and then we've got various BioBlitz events throughout the year, and that's a good way for like families to get involved in citizen science and kind of walking around with your phone and taking pictures of plants, animals, and then they get logged into a database. So with all the fun recreational opportunities, we do charge an entrance fee. If you have a federal duck stamp, that covers your entrance into any national wildlife refuge across the whole United States. But our Refuge Daily Pass is $10 and the annual pass is $25. And those were both two things that were included in the Visitor Services Plan. We also are on recreation.gov now, so you can sit at home on your couch and buy a pass to the refuge, so that's a pretty cool thing. And then we also are part of the America the Beautiful National Parks Pass program. So there's a senior pass, an annual pass, and military passes for active duty or veterans, anybody that's permanently disabled, or if you know a fourth grader, there is a pass that can get them onto, this is like your national parks, national wildlife refuges, U.S. forest lands, like any of those public lands that charge an entrance fee. So if you have a fourth grader at home, just remember that. And we do have fee-free days. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day, President's Day, Juneteenth, Independence Day, Great American Outdoors Act, and then we just wrapped up with this past Saturday, National Public Lands Day. Our next one is going to be October 8th, and that's the first Sunday of National Wildlife Refuge Week. And then November 11th is Veterans Day, and that'll be our next 2 fee-free days. So here's the good stuff, right? So our alligator hunt, whenever we were here last year, we were kind of in, we had 0 quota last year. So I'm happy to report that we do have 6 permits that were harvested or were put out earlier this year. So the hunt area for the refuge is the green area at the bottom, and that's the motorized zone, and then the perimeter canal that butts up to the motorized zone. And then the bag limit is 2 alligators per permit. And so in 2020 is whenever we started issuing the airboat permits for hunting and non-hunting. So 2020, we issued 11 alligator permits, and they harvested 18, and there was 1 airboat permit issued. And then in 21, there was 6 permits, 9 harvested, and 1 airboat permit issued. Last year was 0 quota, and then this year, we're back up to 6 permits, and then I can let y'all know either at the end of the season or this time last year what the harvest rates were. And then duck and coot hunting. Since the Visitor Services Plan, prior to the Visitor Services Plan, the hunt area was just the green area at the bottom. And now we have opened up the whole refuge interior. So that's right around 140,000 acres that's open to duck and coot hunting. If you have a motorboat, a John boat, or airboat by permit, then you can go in the green area. And then if you're going to go and paddle in, like canoe or kayak, you can go into the whole entire refuge interior. So the duck and coot hunt airboat use permit, starting in 2020 was the first year that we did that, and our local staff was doing the draw, and we had 7 applications, and we issued 5 permits, and we've always had 5 permits available. And then in 2021, FWC started helping us out, and our applicants really went up then. So we had almost 300 applicants the second year, and we issued 2 of those permits. And then in 2022, even more applicants, and we were able to issue 4. And this year, the application and drawing process just wrapped up, and we'll be able to report that out soon. And we just wrapped up with the Struzula deer and hog hunt, and that hunt area is the Struzula area. Seeing if I can put that on. How do you make like a laser pointer, yeah. Because Struzula is kind of small on the map. Fancy, thank you. So this is Struzula over here. And this is actually the refuge's newest property that was traded with the state of Florida for Compartment D that was over here. And the season was in early August, so it was the first weekend, and the bag limit was 1 antlered deer per the state's DMU A1 hunt area. And it's an archery crossbow only permit, and you would apply through FWC in May. And we've issued 8 permits for each of those hunt years. And the first year, well, all of the years, we've had roughly 2,000 applicants for that. But you can see the first year we had 6 hunters that showed up, and they harvested 1 deer. And 5 hunters last year, they got no deer, but they did say they saw a lot of deer out there. And then this past year has pretty much been the best year yet. And so we had 6 of the 8 hunters show up, and they harvested 2 deer this past year. And our next coming hunt in early December is going to be the interior deer and hog hunt. And in that area, that is the whole refuge interior that they can go hunt in. And that includes the motorized and non-motorized zones. And the bag limit for that one is 1 antlered deer. And you can use a canoe or kayak, John boat, whatever, outboard motor, or an airboat by permit. And for that deer hunt, you would also apply through FWC in May. We've issued 10 permits each year for that. And again, having about an average or so of 2,000 applicants, maybe a little less. The first year, we had 3 hunters show up, and they harvested 2 deer. And those 2 deer were harvested by the folks with the airboat permits. And then last year, we had 5 hunters, harvested 3 deer, and all 5 of the hunters had airboat permits. And to be determined for this year. But again, it's 10 permits, and just have to wait and see. And we have the mentored youth deer and hog hunt. And thank you to the folks in this room that have helped out with that. Could not do it without you. The hunt area has been in the A impoundments, and this year we're actually adding Struzula to that also. And that will be December 1st through 3rd of 2023. And we partner up with FWC and their youth hunting program and the FWC Hunt Masters for that. So the target audience is youth ages through 12 through 17 who've never hunted before. They have to take a hunter safety course, and through the whole process, they learn how to hunt safely, legally, ethically. They learn about marksmanship and firearm safety, tracking and processing game, and the relationship between hunting and conservation. And the recruitment through that will be through FWC's events calendar. And this was the very first airboat permit that was issued since the visitor services plan. So the airboat permits, it's allowed in designated areas during specific times of the year. And folks have to take an airboat operator course, and that is an online course through our website. And they have to do an on-site airboat inspection, and then the whole process is through an online application. And so the non-hunting airboat permits, so these are the ones so we have duck and coot hunting airboats, alligator airboats, deer hunt airboats, but this is like the non-hunting. So this is going out fishing or frogging or just wanting to see the refuge. So there's about 14,000 acres at the south end of the refuge, the green area here. So you can launch from the Hillsborough area or the 20-mile Bend area up here at the north end and come down the west side of the refuge. But the season for that is July through November on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and it is restricted during duck and coot hunting seasons. And if somebody was interested in that, the application period is May 1st through the 15th, and all the information is on the motorized boating page on Loxahatchee's website. And for that, we do 10 permits annually, with the leftover permits being available on a first-come, first-served basis. The first year we did it, we had 18 applications and issued 10 permits. The second year was 10 applications and 10 permits. Last year was 3 applications and 2 permits issued. And then this year we had 10 applications and we've issued 9 permits. And this is other boating. So there's boat ramps at all 3 of the entrances. So 20-mile Bend at the north end, the headquarters area on Lee Road near Boynton, and then down at the south end near Parkland. So any boat so if you're going to be in the perimeter canal, you don't need the flag, but if you are going to be operating a boat anywhere in the interior, you have to have the orange flag for safety purposes because there's a lot going on out there. We want everybody to be safe. And so that is, we allow non-motorized boats in the whole refuge interior, motorized boats in the green area for the motorized watercraft zone, and also in the perimeter canal around the outside. And then the airboats is during designated areas during specific times of the year. And just back to that last slide, it's this section down here at the bottom that kind of lines up right across here. And we also have opportunities for freshwater fishing. So there's over 140,000 acres of water on the refuge, at least. And there's the 58-mile perimeter canal and over 60 miles of trails for bank fishing. And we've got a fishing pier and a dock and just lots of places to fish. We also allow bow fishing year-round and fish gigging year-round, and frog gigging is July 16th to March 15th. We do allow pet walking, and this is new from the visitor services plan, and it's on the perimeter levee only, so there's about 36 miles along the perimeter levee that you can walk your pets. No prohibited species, so you have to leave your iguanas and your Burmese pythons at home. And we also kind of abide by the bark ranger. What's the word? Yeah, so you want to bag your pet's waste. Always leash your pet, and that's a 6-foot or less leash. Respect wildlife and other visitors, and then also knowing where you can go. And the horseback riding and pet walking is the exact same area. So it's 36 miles from the 362 pump station all the way around up to the S6 pump station. And the perimeter levee is a shell rock levee. It's a multi-use trail. There's going to be pet walking and runners and joggers and bikers and service vehicles, and so lots going on there. And then for the horseback riding, a manure containment bag is required. So if anybody is interested in volunteering, we love volunteers at the refuge. And some of the bigger things that we have going on, that bigger needs, would be the front desk greeter, maintenance, things like mowing. Sitting on a mower all day and driving around is pretty awesome. Weed pulls, trash days, so you get to just ride around in the refuge vehicle, then you do have to take trash out. So, but the volunteer coordinator is Maria Cutagua, and if anybody's interested, that is her email. And one of the fun updates I have for everybody is the new observation tower at the end of Lee Road. If you have not been down there, you should absolutely go check it out. I love to tell people that, we boast that we have, the northern end of the Everglades at Loxahatchee. And it's really hard to really take that in with just standing up on top of the levee. So being able to get up a little bit higher on that observation tower is super cool. You can actually see the wind blowing through the sawgrass. You can see that distant palm tree and the tree islands. So pretty cool. And other infrastructure projects and updates. So the VSP included a lot of infrastructure. Most of what I'm getting ready to talk about, we already have the plans for. We're just awaiting the funding. So additional structures and facilities, including campsites along the L7 canal, new and expanded trails along the perimeter canal and along the headquarters area. Down at Hillsborough, we want to construct a fishing pier and a canoe trail that's going to have boat and camping platforms along it. And at Strazula, we are looking at doing public parking areas, putting in a fishing pier, observation towers, a photo blind, boardwalks, and eventually an environmental education center. And then so we had a concessionaire up through Memorial Day of this year, and they vacated. And then to replace the concession operation, we are currently accepting proposals for rental operations, so canoes, kayaks, and bikes, and then guided pontoon boat tours. So those are two different things there. And if anybody wants more information on that, it's on the homepage of our website. And with that, does anyone have questions?
Thank you, Veronica. The refuge is one of the places that I've spent a lot of time on over the years, hunting and fishing, particularly duck hunting, and the fishing is really good. But I really need to go out there and look at some of those cypress trees that I planted in the old John Marshall days. When the foundation, we take 20, 30 kids out there with a truckload of cypress trees and plant cypress trees all along the edges of the refuge. So it's a place kind of near and dear to my heart. And of course, John Marshall left us too early some years ago. So, okay, the first thing we do is start here at the table and go around and see anybody have any questions or comments for Veronica. And we also have the boss for the refuge sitting right over there, Rolf. And so we can actually get real answers from the top if needs be. So anyone starting around, questions or comments? Bishop?
I just want to say, Rolf, your whole staff deserves 5 stars. And thank you for all your hard work. And it's been a rough few years, and, but we're very pleased with the outcome. And, of course, you know, we always want more, but we're happy with what we got, and it seems like every year we get a little bit more. And, so we're very pleased. And, we're also excited to maybe do some, volunteer projects in there this summer. So starting the first of the year, looking forward to that, maybe getting them done before it gets too hot. So looking forward to it. And again, thank you all for everything y'all do.
Thank you, Bishop. Maybe not the summer, let's, you know, not when it's too hot outside.
Okay, continuing around. Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question. Is there any policy on the refuge about e-bikes?
E-bikes are allowed as long as, they're allowed anywhere where bikes are, as long as it is not a purely, you have to pedal. So it can't be all machine, pedal assisted, thank you. Yeah, so e-bikes are allowed anywhere where bikes are allowed, but it can't just be like I don't know, like a dirt bike.
Like throttle only?
Right. You have to put some work into it.
Be sure when you comment, you say your name. Again, if you don't say your name, you're not on the record. I saw the numbers, and you see 10 people, 3 deer. That's 30%, folks, success rate. That's pretty good. So just because some of the numbers look small, that does not mean that they're not well above the state average for the number of people that are allowed to hunt. So when you have a permitted hunt, you have to be very careful. When you have 10 permits and you shoot and they get 3 deer, that's pretty damn good. So watch the numbers; they can fool you sometime. Hopefully, we'll get 20 permits someday, but we'll work through that over the days. I'll come around. Anyone else? Anyone back? Go say. Oh, yes, ma'am.
My name is Rachel Buckley with the Florida Paddling Trails Association. And I don't know if this is, I'm going to be visiting the refuge very soon, and I plan on paddling it. And I'm wondering if the orange flag, when you said for all boats, is that for kayaks as well?
Yeah.
Is there any chance that the kayak is going to cross paths with an airboat? Probably, yes.
Maybe not on your side of things, but accidents could happen. We have a lot of contractors that are going out into that area. They're not supposed to be on the canoe trail. So it's for everybody's safety.
So the flag definitely.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that.
Plus, you can also take your canoe anywhere you want to go on the refuge now. So you will be in areas, if you choose to be, where the contractors will be working.
Okay, thank you very much. And are we ready for Zoom?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
No one on Zoom. Okay. All right, thank you very much, Veronica.
Thanks, everyone.
That's it. Okay, our next presentation, Upper Chain of Lakes Land Management Overview, Ayunga Riddick, Science Supervisor, South Florida Water Management District.
Good evening, everyone. Excuse me while I get my materials together here. Again, my name is Ayunga Riddick, and I'm the supervisor for the land management operations in the area we call the Upper Lakes region, which covers, again, parts of Polk, Osceola, and Orange counties. The Upper Lakes Land Management Region consists of 6 primary areas where we have public use and recreation, and also those 6 areas we have a lot going on with resource management. Of those 6 areas, 4 areas we have lead management authority. That means the South Florida Water Management District. They're the primary care taker of the property. On the 2 non-lead areas, which are Tidbit Butler, which is a 493-acre site, which is in Orange County, just outside of Orlando. That's managed by the Orange County Parks and Recreation Department. And then the second site, which is Samica, that's in Polk County, just outside of Lake Wells. That's about a 4,500-acre property. And that's managed by Polk County Natural Resources Department. The other areas that we are lead management on, we're going to go through each of them here shortly, but all of those areas combined come out to just under 47,000 acres. Now, there is approximately, I would say, another 3,000 to 4,000 acres that we manage that would be considered submerged and sovereign lands. A lot of times when we're out there, especially in the Kissimmee chain of lakes, there really isn't any type of boundary to delineate what is district fee lands and submerged and sovereign lands of the state. For the 4 lead areas, we have 4 full-time employees, which includes myself. Of that, we have, I guess for lack of better words, 2 scientists, and then we have 2 technicians, which are pretty much, they're out on the ground every day, overseeing field operations, along with a slew of contractors. We couldn't just do everything that we do with 4 FTEs. And we'll start out at the very north, Shingle Creek. Shingle Creek is our smallest management area, just around 2,400 acres. But it's a very busy management area. It's very popular because of its location close to Metro Orlando. Another interesting feature about Shingle Creek, this is where it all starts. We talk a lot about the Everglades here at the South Florida Water Management District, and when you say Everglades, people thinking about sawgrass country south of Lake Okeechobee, but hardly ever do we, highlight where it all starts. And so it starts up in my region, and I'm proud to say it. So, and Shingle Creek is kind of one of our jewels, even though it's right in town, but it's a nice piece of property. And you can see the lower left picture that's taken at one of the bridges that we constructed, a pedestrian bridge over the creek at the Hunters Creek Middle School trailhead. And what I'm going to do is, as I talk about the 4 lead areas that we manage, I'm going to try to highlight the connection that all these areas have, and then later on in the presentation, talk about how the activities that we conduct, how they all tie into one another as well. So for Shingle Creek, the creek itself actually flows along the eastern boundary of the property, and we do offer public use recreation, paddling if anyone's interested. We have a canoe launch there at Hunters Creek Middle School. But Shingle Creek flows south into West Lake Toho, and then from there I'm going to transition to the Reedy Creek and Lake Marion Creek properties. Combined, Reedy and Lake Marion Creek, a lot of folks in the area know them as being the Upper Lakes Basin watershed, but we went ahead, we being the district, we split those 2 areas into distinct properties. So you have Reedy Creek, which is shown in blue, and Lake Marion Creek, which is shown in orange. And then if you notice, there's 2 west, on the very left side of Lake Marion Creek, there's 2 small parcels that are colored red. I must note that those parcels are actually owned by the Southwest Florida Water Management District, but it's so far out of their everyday operational scheme. We here at the district, we manage those properties for them under a management agreement. With Lake Marion Creek and Reedy Creek, the significance, and once again, just building this mental picture of all these properties and how they contribute to the greater Everglades. The Reedy Creek property, the headwaters for that, Reedy Creek flows, actually, it's hard to see from this map here, but it flows from the north, starting up at near Walt Disney World, and flows southeast towards Lake Russell, which is kind of the bottom lower right of the screen there. And then from Lake Russell, Reedy Creek goes out to Cypress Lake. Now down to Lake Marion Creek, Lake Marion, which is at the very bottom of the map there to the left, Lake Marion Creek leaves there, that property, and flows north through the Lake Marion Creek management area and down out towards Lake Hatchnahal. And then from Hatchnahal, we're going to travel to the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes, which a lot of you here tonight are familiar with. The Kissimmee Chain of Lakes is our largest management area and probably, I would say, the most popular because of its wide public use opportunity, everything from hunting, camping, fishing, you name it, you can do it on the Chain of Lakes. One thing about the Chain of Lakes is it's by boat access only. So you can't really drive up in your vehicle and get out about on any of these lands. You need an airboat for the most part. Some people do recreate using a motorboat, like a kicker boat or something similar. One thing about the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes that I must mention, the significance of these lands. These lands are part of the Kissimmee River Headwaters Revitalization Project, and that's why these lands were primarily acquired, so we can have enough storage capability, between the lakes and the ownership to have year-round base flow for the Kissimmee River. And also, the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes property, it's an integral part of the whole Everglades Headwaters landscape. Now I'm going to transition and talk about the activities that we do, and I can't highlight all of them. We'll be here all night, but just the top, 4 or so. And these are also our big high-budget items. Exotic plant control. Most of our exotic plant control work in the Upper Lakes is contracted out. Annually, our contracts range anywhere from, I'd say, just over $500,000 annually, and probably a third of those funds are external monies that we receive from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, and those monies come to us based on proposals that we submit, that staff submit to them. So it's not guaranteed money, but the proposals are ranked, and based on the ranking, those with the highest ranks will get the funding, and if you rank low, there may not be any funding available. So I'm proud to say that we've been able to get external funding into our program from FWC over the last 10 years consistently. And here, just a little bit about this slide. Exotic plant control, once again, it's a big activity that we do, and we want to be efficient. It's a lot of money, so we want to make sure what we're treating it's high priority, but also we're doing some good. So we're using a lot of technologies. Here you can see we're using drone technology to conduct recon in these vast swamps where access is very limited. So using drones, we're able to go out and try to identify hot spots. This technology works well in the winter when the cypress swamps are void of any leaves, and so it's easier to identify a lot of the exotic, especially old world climbing fern, which just stands out in the wintertime in a cypress swamp without needles. But still, even with the technology, we got to get out, and this is the fun part of the job, get out and get dirty, wade around the swamp and verify with what we've seen from the air and in the office that those sites are where we want to do our treatments. And then the lower right is once we do all that recon, then we pass on the information to our contractors and get them out in the field to conduct the work. We also do treatments in-house with district staffs, and usually those treatments are smaller, kind of smart treatments where we have easy access. And then the difficult places, we let the contractors go out and take care of that. Woody vegetation control, that's another big activity that we do in the Upper Lakes region. And it consists of native and exotic vegetation, but most of the mechanical woody vegetation control is native species. So here, this is some work that we're doing, that we've done in the Chain of Lakes, the west shore of Lake Kissimmee area, where we've gone in with, and this is done with district staff and equipment. We've gone in with our dozer and choppers and went ahead and treated wax myrtle. And this is just one example. And, you know, the reasons why we want to maintain our open wet prairies and marshes. So during the dry season, when we're able to get equipment out there, you know, we'll go ahead and treat these sites mechanically. Infrastructure maintenance, that's another activity. I'd say probably 50% of this work is done in-house and the other 50% is done by contractors. So on the left side of this slide here, that's contractors rebuilding a pavilion at Shingle Creek that was vandalized. And then on the left side, we have district staff at the top, on the right side, I'm sorry, installing a new kiosk. And then the lower side is where district staff has resurfaced the road at Lake Marion Creek. And annually, we spend somewhere around $25,000 a year for road material, where we purchase the road material and then the staff go ahead and do the work, and we have it delivered, and the staff would do the work as far as patching roads, grading, whatever needs to be done. Prescribed burning, it's another activity. And here I just want to highlight in the Upper Lakes, it's very interesting. One day we can be burning within 2 miles of SeaWorld, and as you can imagine, those burns can be very intense, a lot of publicity. We get a lot of air traffic with not only the tour helicopters, but also news helicopters flying, but never a major issue as far as, you know, any public concern. We've done a great job over the years educating our neighbors and educating some of the news outlets where they'll come check it out, and they see that it's a prescribed burn, and they'll fly around probably 5 minutes and then take off somewhere else because it's like, it's just not exciting. But you can see the challenges of burning in the wildland-urban interface, and we have more and more of this in the Upper Lakes. Burning next to busy roads where they don't slow down. I mean, even without fire, they're out there just driving crazy, and you know, the driving habits doesn't change. And then next to homes, and you can see that, you know, wherever we burn, on the right side, next to homes, we have to make sure that we have good fire lines and boundaries and buffers in place. But also, we want to make sure that our fire lines are aesthetically pleasing to our neighbors. We have a lot of high-dollar real estate adjacent to district property, and so we want to make sure our neighbors, you know, when they look over the fence out their back door or whatever, that the property's being managed well, but then also our infrastructure is in great shape as far as our fencing and fire lines and whatnot. And then the lower picture there in the center, you just kind of an aerial view of, you know, we're burning in a lot of people's backyards. That's just kind of what we do. And then the next day, we're in the middle of nowhere burning, and that's down the chain of lakes. We don't have, we have a little bit of urban interface with Port Hatchinahall, but most of the structures that are adjacent to our ownership on private land are just kind of like hunt camps and whatnot. So, and there, once again, access is difficult. And in our urban areas, we're burning small sites, and here in our rural areas, the acreage is a lot larger. And the irony is, it's a lot easier to burn 1,000 acres out in the middle of nowhere versus 100 acres in town. And here you can see that, you know, burning in the chain of lakes, it requires a variety of specialized equipment from buggies, airboats, amphibious tracked vehicles, and so it can be challenging just as far as from a logistical standpoint. And then this slide here is a little bit out of place, but I'm actually going to talk about how all these, so earlier I talked about how the properties are all tied together, and now I'm going to talk about how these activities, how they all work together. And we do this through careful planning because we don't have unlimited resources here at the district. So land managers, we have to carefully plan throughout the year to make sure that we're most efficient at what we do. Because hardly ever are we able to accomplish our goals and objectives with managing the land with one activity alone. So in this slide here, I'm just going to talk about, I guess what I call it integrated land management. That term can have many meanings if you look it up, especially from a urban land use planning context. It can mean something else. But here, I'm going to talk about how all these activities come together. And so this is an example at Lake Marion Creek where we went in, mechanically treated some scrub habitat. And the top right is kind of what it looked like before treatment. The lower left is during treatment, and then we come in and follow it with fire. And that's where we're combining our efforts to get the most out of the land as far as what we do. To go in and try to burn this site, it's overgrown as it is, without any type of mechanical treatment, it would require some very extreme conditions that probably wouldn't be safe. Here's another example in the KCOL. This is a wet prairie area where we've conducted prescribed fire, mostly targeting the woody plants. And, but now, since the area is more open, we burned back that thatch, that above ground biomass, opened it up. This is a great opportunity to go ahead and run exotic plant crews through the property. It's a lot easier for them to traverse the land and treat invasive species once it's been burned versus it being unburned. And once again, that's thinking ahead, making sure, that we do the burn, but then we have the paperwork ready to go to follow it up with contractors to treat the exotics. This also goes to, once again, tying all these different activities together, infrastructure maintenance and fire lines. Once again, making sure we have fire lines in the right place during the right time of year when we have burns planned, because we're not able to prep all of our fire lines year-round, which, we mostly try to prep areas that we have a pretty good idea that we know we're going to burn, versus just prepping fire lines because it's a fire line, which probably isn't a bad thing because you can have wildfires occur any time of the year and you want to have a definitive boundary established. And then hydrologic enhancement and restoration. We've done some work throughout the upper lakes, but most of it has been done in the Kissimmee chain of lakes, where we've gone in and plugged ditches, we filled them, put in low water crossings, but we're it's a continuous effort to do these projects. Funding is limited once again, but fortunately, we've been able to partner with other entities such as Ducks Unlimited to get some of these projects moving forward. And, some of the obvious benefits of hydrologic restoration is, not only improving habitat for various critters, but, that's what we do here at the district. We're looking at maximizing our lands for water storage and just protecting the water resource, and doing these enhancement projects, is our mission. In 2021, we completed one of these projects with Ducks Unlimited using a NACA grant. Ducks Unlimited partnered with us. They supplied the engineering and grant support. They actually applied for the NACA grant. And we do the field logistics and permitting. And then once the grant is awarded, Ducks Unlimited oversee any of the earthworks. So they hire the contractors and monitor contractors and oversee the projects from start to finish. And this is what we've done at Gardner Cobb. Eliminated over 3 miles of ditches, 2 culverts. We had some extra money, so we did an additional 2 miles of ditches, and this was all done in dry season of 2021. Upcoming projects. Right now, we're currently working on another NACA application to do enhancement work on district lands just north of Cypress Lake. That project is about 1,100 acres, and that's what you see, the map to the left. And then on the right side, additional work at Rolling Meadows, where we're looking at trying to improve the hydrology of the northernmost portion of the property, which consists of approximately 138 acres. And so right now, we have an application. We should be hearing back any day now. We're looking at trying to receive funding for, and these projects were submitted together to NACA, and combined, the work that we would like to do would cost what we're asking for is somewhere just shy of $1 million. And with all the, and so far, I talked about just everyday type stuff that we have to do, but we also have, a lot of just ancillary activities that we have to attend to. So the illegal activities, dumping, the top far right in these urban interface areas, just the adjacent landowners throwing their yard trash or landscape debris over onto the district property. Lower left, illegal off-road vehicles. And then in the center at the bottom, that's kind of the biggest problem now. Times are tough. And so what we're noticing is a lot of these squatter camps, and typically 1 or 2 people, and they come, they set up camp real quick, and before we can even catch them there, they've abandoned it. So, and that is happening a lot, and we have to go in and remove everything that's left. And then that shelter that was being constructed earlier, that's kind of, that's what happened. It burned down initially. I mean, that was what you saw was the new shelter being rebuilt after it was damaged there, but we had to go in and remove all the debris and clean the site and prep it for the contractors to come in and build a replacement. And then last, I would like to say thank you and thank you to our various volunteers and stakeholders. Brad and company with the KRVSA, I can't thank you enough for all the work you've done in the Upper Lakes region. And it's been a great partnership. And hopefully these partnerships exist throughout the rest of the district where we have district lands. So once again, thank you. And then also Osceola Airboat Association up in Orlando, the SORBA, Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association Orlando chapter, they've done a lot of work. And you can see examples of some of our volunteers here in some of the pictures. Nature Conservancy, and on and on. Osceola Schools, where we have an environmental education center at one of our Reedy Creek sites, and that's what you see, the lower right. We have actual classrooms, and we have school buses. Summer, they bring the kids out to the site, and we have summer camp programs. I say we; these programs are actually part of Osceola's county schools, public schools programs, but we partner with them, and we'll do a biologist show and tell type session, just to kind of have that outreach connection. And then the lower left, one of our shelters that the KRVSA sponsored, they constructed this thing from the ground up. I mean, they supplied all the materials, labor, once again, and it's out there looking good, and thank you. In addition to many other infrastructure improvements that they've done. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you. The Kissimmee Chain of Lakes, I think, Bishop, we spent a few years doing the, was it the committee that was doing the consolation of all the stakeholders. And what came out of that committee after several years, and I'll never forget, and I won't say his name, I hope he's out there watching, got on an airplane and flew from Wisconsin all the way back to Florida to vote to get the resolution that had been put together by people who were anti-people on the property at the time to kill the resolution after years of work. And what you saw today is a result of that one man flying from Wisconsin to come to that meeting at the river walk up there, and he raised his hand, and that threw the whole situation right here. It all moved to the Recreation Rack. And what you see up there today is a result. And so when I tell people it's important to go to meetings, important to participate, when you see this, which is one of the best places in the United States to go recreate today. There's no place I know of, and I know Arkansas, Tennessee, I know all of them, like the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes. It's incredible, and the diversity we have there. And so the people that go before us a lot of times leave things, and we sometimes forget that legacy. Okay, let's start to the left as usual. Anyone have any comments? Yes, sir.
I'm going to thank you and your team for what you guys do, really. Folks, it's an honor and privilege when you pick up the phone and it's like calling your friend. It really is. Vince Matero reaches out, Unger reaches out. Yes, Kissimmee River Valley and the members and sponsors, great folks that are involved there, in about 8 years have put about $100,000 worth of structures and stuff up, cash, let alone volunteer hours. We've got more volunteer things coming up. Vince called the other day and said, hey, man, we found some picnic tables and some fence if you guys can get the labor. And we noticed there were some grills down. We'll buy the grills. And when you find a partnership or a working relationship like we have with the staff up there, it makes things easy and it makes them pleasurable. Called James, hey, man, we're going to need a permit so we can go in there and pressure wash. Okay. And it makes things great. You know, these guys will show up on a Saturday to go through the gate and stuff with us, so everything's above board. So thank you guys a lot for what you do. It's hard to manage in those urban areas. As part of my work life, we burn, and I know it's not easy. You got homeowners, you got everybody complaining and this and that, and they do a beautiful job because you never hear anything negative. You never see anything on the news. They're not, and we do appreciate it. So thank you for what you do. Don't think for a minute that the sportsmen out there don't see it and recognize it. And you know, as everybody moves on in life and gets on further in their career, we've been blessed here with new people, you know, in the last year or so, and we all kind of go, uh-oh, when there's change coming. But it's been fantastic, and thank you for that relationship, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Continue around. Any comments? Oh, we have a quiet crowd tonight. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
Yes, we do have one hand raised on Zoom. Danny Brantley. Mr. Brantley, please unmute your mic. Mr. Brantley, you can unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Technology, it's way above my pay grade. Hey, Anagai and Newton and Mr. Bartlett, the thing that Newton, that committee was called Dispute Resolution Committee, and you are correct, it was 2 years, and you said you hoped that I was watching. I ain't going nowhere. I'm still hanging out, but we appreciate all water management's done for us and the relationship that we have with y'all. I just wanted to say that, but I am here and I am watching.
Thank you, Mr. Brantley. We have no additional hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, last call, the one. Okay, thank you very much, Younger.
Thank
Great
you.
conversation. Look at the fact that you do a great job of burning, and I think everybody here knows me as Mr. Burns sometimes, because I scream and holler, burn, burn, burn. The thing is, people don't realize, it's sad because they all move here. Florida historically burned every 5 years on the average. The whole state from stem to stern, even the swamps, burned. And if it didn't burn, the natives set it afire. And we've learned that over the years. And of course, the habitats suffer and the wildlife suffers if we don't follow the natural way. Okay, next on the agenda, this is always a fun topic, the 2023 Florida Python Challenge, recap and overview of the South Florida Water Management District's Python Management Program. Mike Kirkland, Senior Invasive Biologist, Animal Biologist. Where are you, Mike? Okay, right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Mike Kirkland. I'm the district senior invasive animal biologist, and I manage our Python elimination program. Today, I'm going to briefly highlight the state's Python contractor programs, and along with the 2023 Python Challenge. But first, a quick overview. Burmese pythons are one of the largest species of snake in the world. They're from Southeast Asia and were brought to Florida through the exotic pet trade business. Because of South Florida's subtropical environment, which closely mimics the species' native range, pythons have been able to establish a large reproducing population. Pythons have caused significant ecological impacts within South Florida's natural areas. We've observed severe declines in fur-bearing animal populations within Everglades National Park and the surrounding natural areas. Burmese pythons are now also threatening wading bird colonies and are known to carry exotic parasites and pathogens that are capable of crossing over into native snake species. And these impacts have direct implications to Everglades restoration goals. The multi-billion-dollar taxpayer investment to restore Everglades habitat would be in vain if we allowed an invasive apex predator such as the Burmese python to persist and prey on our native animals. So what is this agency and our partners doing about it? A lot, actually. There are many different management strategies being implemented to help push back against the python invasion, ranging from research to outreach to innovation and technology. But what I'm going to be highlighting today for you are the district's and FWC's contractor programs. So let's dive into some of the nuts and bolts of how these programs work. In 2017, our governing board decided to take aggressive action to remove Burmese pythons from Florida's natural areas. The district's python elimination program was started in March of 2017, and 6.5 years later, I'm proud to say it's stronger than ever. The contractor programs offer access to designated public lands to skilled, experienced individuals. Contractors are paid by the hour to survey project lands, and they receive an additional incentive for every target species removed based on length. We pay $50 for the first 4 feet and then $25 for every foot after 4. And the graphic on the bottom of the slide shows the payment schedule, and you can see that contractors will receive $150 for an 8-foot python. Our partnering agency, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, began its sister program, Team Patrick, just a couple weeks later in April of 2017. This program is essentially identical to ours with the same payment schedule, project area, and program requirements. We work very closely together, coordinating nearly every day. We're essentially one team that's managed by 2 separate agencies with the same mission: to humanely remove as many invasive constrictors as possible in order to protect our native wildlife. This is our list of target species, which is made up of large constrictors found in the state's conditional species list and the federal injurious species list. Over 99% of the snakes removed through the contractor programs are Burmese pythons, but we want our contractors to know if they stumble across something like a green anaconda in the field, not only do we want them to remove it, but we'll pay them for it as usual. Designated survey lands now span across 11 counties, made up of both state and federal lands. But the core project area shown here still consists of 6 counties: Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Collier, Hendry, and Lee. We pay the contractors one of 2 rates to survey for pythons based on region. We pay $13 an hour right now, or $18 an hour based on location. The premium rate is for fringe areas that we believe are outside the core population, and that we want to try to keep it that way, preventing population expansion. But we pay what we call a premium rate in these fringe areas, also where it's difficult for contractors to access, and where capture rates are lower, such as Crocodile Lake or Loxahatchee National Wildlife Refuge. Interior marsh locations, RSTAs, Fakahatchee, Picayune Strand, and so forth. So we're incentivizing the contractors to not only survey and remove pythons from where we believe the epicenter of the python invasion is, but also to get on those fringe areas. So far the contractor programs sound relatively simple, and they certainly had modest beginnings with paper data sheets and survey records, but we've come a long way since then. Our geospatial department has customized Esri smartphone applications to collect valuable field data electronically, which serve as automated invoicing systems. They provide instant analytics and statistics and allow us to see where contractors are in real time during their surveys. We've cut out as much of the paperwork as possible and introduced efficiencies for both contractors and staff alike. This survey data may help us better understand regional python habitat preferences, population dynamics, as well as seasonal and environmental variability. And as I mentioned earlier, the software allows us to track contractors in real time when they're out in the field. This increases accountability, adds a layer of safety, and helps me optimize coverage of the project area. I don't watch football or baseball at night when I go home. This is a game I turn on, and I watch contractor dots move across the landscape. It's been so useful to see everyone's location in some of these remote areas. If there's ever an issue, I can not only see where that person is, but I can see where they are in relation to contractors nearby in case somebody needs to go lend a helping hand. And it happened just this weekend. And as I said, the software also provides instant analytics. Contractors have access to their own electronic dashboards to track their progress. But here's a screenshot of my manager's dashboard where I can track progress and trends from the entire team. Though, like with any environmental issue, an integrated approach is called for by having multiple strategies working in concert with each other. That said, the contractor programs have become the most successful management tool against invasive pythons in the history of the issue. That's both in terms of number of snakes removed over time and cost effectiveness. But they're still just one tool in the toolbox, and they're not going to be the end solution by themselves. The Python elimination program does receive a lot of my focus. An important tool like this one needs to remain sharp and run smoothly, but only accounts for perhaps 30% of our available budget. The rest is used towards things like research projects, scout snake programs, supporting partner initiatives like targeted outreach. And the Water Management District approaches this issue broadly by supporting and advocating this multi-pronged strategy. In this graph here, you can see the dramatic increase in python removals since the contractor programs began in 2017. While every python removed is a positive thing for the environment, the district and FWC programs combined have resulted in over 12,000 pythons taken from the Everglades in just 6.5 years. That's never been done before. And with a 1-to-1 sex ratio and many of these female pythons being of reproductive size, you have to consider how many new pythons were prevented from entering the system. So that 12,000 suddenly becomes exponentially much greater. It did not take long for these programs to be noticed by leadership in Tallahassee, who has boosted support and increased our momentum. In 2019, Governor Ron DeSantis announced expansions to removal efforts, increased collaboration amongst partnering agencies, particularly between the district, FWC, and the National Park Service. The governor's initiative included coordinating management goals, maximizing removal efforts, engaging veterans groups, and aligning removal programs. We took these directives seriously and worked hard to strengthen interagency ties. Now, 4 years after that direction, I'm proud to say that Python management has really become a great example of cooperation and solidarity between state and federal agencies. When we began in 2017, both the FWC and the district had 25 Python contractors each. Now we both have 50 contractors for a total of 100 paid Python removal agents in the state. This is one of my favorite pictures taken last year. It's me standing in front of our team, 50 strong. Now let's get into the Python challenge. So when the governor came down in 2019, he also directed FWC and the district and MPS to start jointly hosting annual Python challenges. Their intent is to raise public awareness about invasive species in Florida, like Burmese pythons, that are a threat to the Everglades ecosystem. The Florida Python Challenge is an effort to promote protection of native wildlife through removal of Burmese pythons. And you see, every time that we host one of these, we have sustained international media attention. So they're really, really effective outreach programs. Here's some snapshots of the challenge. The FWC held many safe capture trainings for the public, and both agencies manned check stations to turn in pythons and answer questions. In the middle, you can see what the data sheet looks like that's turned in with every captured python. And here's the results of this year's challenge. We had 209 pythons removed. That's a really positive thing for the environment and not bad for a 10-day event. But remember, the main purpose of these is outreach. So we're removing pythons, but we're also really spreading awareness and educating the public. And this year's event was held from August 4th to the 13th. It included updating training and education for the public. And there was $30,000 in total cash prizes available to participants. We had over 1,000 participants registered, representing 25 different states and one international country, Belgium. And here you can see we had the ultimate grand prize winner of $10,000 was Paul Hobbs. He removed 20 pythons. And the grand prize runner-up, $7,500, went to Ronald Kiger, who removed 14 pythons. And the military category winner, who won $2,500, was Justin Morgan, who removed 7 pythons during the 10-day event. The award ceremony was held at the Long Key Nature Center in Broward County almost 2 weeks ago on Friday, September 15th. This is a nice picture of the winners standing with some of our interagency executive leadership. Though it's only a 10-day event, we start planning for these at least 6 months in advance, and a lot of thought and effort go into them, and I think they keep improving each year. So, starting to close out, I'd like to go over some of the basic guidelines for python removal by the general public. The primary difference between hunting on private versus public land is that on private land you need landowner permission before you access it. But there are 32 commission-managed public lands that do not require any type of approval. Otherwise, the guidelines are the same between public and private lands. Burmese pythons are prohibited species and may not be transported live without an FWC-issued permit. And these permits are usually reserved for land managers, researchers, sanctioned outreach, and the like. And they're not usually issued to the general public. So therefore, you must humanely euthanize on site. If you need any guidance on what we consider to be humane methods, please visit FWC's website. They have a lot of great information there and some instructional videos, or at least graphics. There's no permit or license required to remove pythons year-round. There's no bag limit. So the public is encouraged to humanely remove these pythons 12 months out of the year. Just be aware of these laws, in addition, as always, to any specific area regulations and local ordinances. The contractor programs and python challenges are just 2 tools in a large toolbox to help manage this issue. As I said before, the best path forward is an integrated approach where multiple strategies are working together. Here's a list of some of the other management strategies currently being used. There's a statewide management plan and working group, the Florida Python Control Plan. There are several robust telemetry programs being implemented across the state. We have biocontrol feasibility studies occurring that could one day involve genetic-based approaches. We're testing different attractants for pythons. We're using radio-collared prey in some areas, like the Northern Keys. AI near-infrared camera detection systems are being calibrated and tested. And we have ongoing targeted outreach, teaching the public how to identify these invasive constrictors versus our many native species and how to report sightings. We'd like to remind you that though the FWC, the South Florida Water Management District, and the National Park Service are all 3 separate agencies, we consider ourselves all to be on the same team with the same common mission. What is that mission? To remove invasive species and protect our natural environment and native wildlife. And really, this slide could easily include many, many other state, county, and federal partners. We all work together very closely, which is necessary when you're working towards the same objective. How do you report a Python sighting? You can download the I've Got One app, where you can file reports. You can also call their number, 188 I've Got One, or that's 483-468-663. But whenever reporting a sighting, do your best to get a clear photo. Believe it or not, most reports that I get end up being native snakes like horn snakes or water snakes. So try to get a photo along with a detailed location so we can be efficient with our removal efforts. And that number was, 483-468-6631. Or I've Got One. And with that, I'd happy to take your questions and comments.
Okay, Mike, thank you very much for a good presentation. Before I forget it, which I have before, United Waterfowlers was at the first Python Challenge event, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And I was asked, well, what's the duck hunters doing here? And I said, because pythons eat ducks. And they do. And obviously been a big supporter of this. I was talking to one of the Python guys, and I was saying, where do you find these things? I know you find them laying across the road a lot, because of the weather temperature changes and this, that, and the other at night. I said, but what about the nesting? He says, they always nest in really brushy, heavy, brushy spots. Am I correct on that? Yes. Of course, when you get a female in a nest, you're getting a lot more than just a python. So I was thinking, why not put some brush piles along the levees artificially to attract the female python closer to where they're available to the hunters? And I would like to see an experiment where 10 brush piles were put in an area next to the levee, and where people could check them on an occasional basis. I have a feeling there might be some pythons. Now, I put that out because I figure someone might comment on that around the corner here. Okay, so here we go, left. Let's hear some comments on the python, and then we'll go to Zoom after we go. Announce your name before you speak so it goes on the air. Thank you.
Mike, I was wondering, what was the largest python taken during the challenge this year?
I have to look that up, Rich. I don't have it handy.
You want?
Yeah, Tom Reiner, FWC. Yeah, thanks for that great presentation, and I'm glad kind of where you ended it with the partnerships, because it really is a true partnership with the district, and especially also our other partners, Fish and Wildlife Service, Loxahatchee, who are here. The National Preserve, Big Cypress, is also a huge partner in this. And Everglades National Park, actually, Pedro Ramos, the superintendent there, getting the ability to actually use firearms in a national park, which is a very difficult thing to do. And he was able to do that, and that's for our contractors to dispatch them, when they're out there. So the partnership is amazing and huge. I'd like to thank the governor and the lieutenant governor who came to the actual Python Awards Challenge. Jeanette Nunez was there and kicked it off. So that attention is huge and brings a lot of eyes to this issue. So that was very important. And it was also Alligator Ron's 80th birthday, which we celebrated with a big old cake, which was fantastic. I did want to share an interesting story about the winner, Paul Hobbs. He's been coming down since the very first one in 2013. And in 2021, his dad won one of the big prizes, I think a $2,500 prize, and he's bringing his son now. So we had 3 generations of python hunters there, and that's who won the big prize, the $10,000 prize. And thanks to Universal Leathers for putting that up, and to Alligator Ron Bergeron for putting up a very substantial second place prize. So that's all huge and brings a lot of eyes to it. So I really do appreciate the partnership with the district and everything. And I told Zach to make a note about your idea, Newton, to put some brush piles out and see if we can attract some python. It works for iguanas, so we'll see if it works for pythons. Thank you.
Well, Mike, can you speak to some of the artificial refugia that we've looked into, and then also some of the attractants that you're currently working with?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, University of Florida has tried for about 10 years now with putting out what we call artificial refuges. That normally things that python could insulate under, like corrugated metal. I've even experimented with open coolers that are kind of buried half into the ground. And so far, we haven't had much luck with artificial refugia. And we think that's primarily because you'd think that a strategy like that would work in a habitat-limited environment. And as we all know, the Everglades is really a habitat-rich environment. There's plenty of places that pythons can hide naturally. And whenever you disturb an area like that, they say that it needs to be soiled for several years so the python won't have the smell of anything unnatural in there, humans, and things of that nature. But University of Florida is still testing some of these things, though we have very increasingly mild winters down here. Whenever we have a cold snap, there's been tested on heated artificial refugia. Pythons try to seek shelter in some of these heated areas, so far without effect. But what we are finding some success with is by using what Rory's referred to, the attractants. So another researcher with the University of Florida has been putting out live rabbits in pens. They're not traps, but they're pens, and the animals are well cared for. They have water, and they've got fans, even have toys, so that they follow University of Florida strict animal husbandry standards. And they really, really take the animal welfare seriously. But they're out in the field, and the pythons, we think that they smell the rabbits, and perhaps they sense the warm bodies out there. We haven't quite isolated what it is about the rabbits that are attracting the pythons, but pythons have been aggregating and localized to these localized areas where the pythons, or where the rabbits are, and where the pythons can be easier to detect. That research is ongoing, and we just completed our second summer with that, and we plan on, Dr. Bob McCleary plans on getting out next summer to test some other attractants, including live reproductively active python in a pen, female python in a pen, and see if we can get some male pythons to aggregate. So stay tuned on that. It's ongoing research. Another thing that's being done by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is using radio-collared native prey that's caught on site, such as possums and raccoons. They also have mortality sensors on them, so that these native animals are caught on site, collared with transmitters, and put back out in the field. And whenever one of these animals dies, then the mortality sensor goes off, and the researchers are then led to where the animal is deceased. And if it was a python that is the offending predator, then that researcher then has an opportunity to remove the python. This is normally done in areas that aren't accessible to contractors, such as Crocodile Lake National Wildlife Refuge. Yes, sir.
Mike, thank you. It's encouraging a sportsman to see your last slide, one team, one mission, and that's amazing across agencies, and that should be the overall thought pattern here. We're all here for the same purpose. I'd lay a couple of things at your feet. Newton, to your statement, we have a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers WebEx once a month, and Mike Elfenbein's been very outspoken about brush piles and stuff, and there's a lot of support for that. I would love to see the district pick that up, or FWC pick it up. It wasn't overly supported with some opportunity through the Corps, but let me give you a short thought pattern here. From a guy that's a third-generation citrus grower in Central Florida, don't leave it up to the university. Okay? I don't have the word ologist behind my name. I'm a common sense ologist. But if you think that a python from South America is going to crawl in a cooler from China from Walmart, that ain't going to work. I don't care how you bury it. It's not going to work. You've got to get the brush piles out there. You have to have natural type habitat to entice them and get them in there. You know, we relied on the university to stop citrus greening, and y'all know how that's worked for us. So I would advocate that we go back to the basics. Just keep this real simple, folks. We've got to do something. There have been a couple reported. I haven't seen them up in our area in Central Florida, so it really bothers me. Of course, you know it's coming. But we've got to get back to grassroots on this stuff. And however that has to be, please let us know. The sportsmen will love to support it because it's killing everything that we love. So do that, but let's get back to common sense. And if we can do something to help you, please reach out. There's sportsmen all over. Be glad to help.
I appreciate the comment very much, and though I do have the ologist behind my name, many of our contractors do not, but just because they don't have the degree doesn't mean that they aren't experts at what they do. Some of our contractors are so good, they've probably forgotten more about pythons than I'll ever know. So we don't hide behind these titles and these degrees. Don't worry. We're really, the contractor programs really do a great job of employing what we call our citizen scientists out there. You don't need to go to college to become an expert at whatever subject matter is. And contractor programs, that's one of the many things that I think that is really great that they do.
Make no mistake, it wasn't about any of those things. My point is, don't let the university or somebody else overshadow with, we got 10 years of research on artificial. Folks, if you keep waiting on them, get the folks out there that know. Those people from citizen groups and sportsmen, people that have the experience to get out there and get this done. If you wait on these universities and the rest of these folks, we can't. You've got to get what you're talking about. Grassroots people with some common sense can get this thing fixed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bishop?
I would just like to thank you for partnering up with the youth hunting program of Florida. Both the water management staff and the FWC staff, y'all make our hunt successful. Jerry gave us a key when we first decided to do this, and I don't know, we rode them levees for months and never seen a snake. And I told Jerry, we're deer hunters and hog hunters. We're going to need a little help on this. And I know he went to you and your team, and y'all offered up some help. And what a difference it made. So I just want to say your team definitely is, they know what they're doing. And I think we're on our 4th year now. We're looking forward to our 5th year. And I just want to, again, thank you for supplying your team a couple times a year to help out for that youth hunt. And thanks for everything else you do. And anybody that wanted to come Friday night and see a real good presentation that everybody gets on a Friday night for the educational part of the youth hunt is remarkable too. And again, thanks for partnering up with the youth hunting program of Florida.
Sir.
John?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is it strictly district lands that the contractors go on? Because you already mentioned one place that they're not allowed to go in. Do we have places around here that they're not allowed to go in?
You might have misheard. So actually, Crocodile Lake Wildlife Refuge is accessible to contractors. It just doesn't have, it's just not easily accessible in a lot of areas. So, you know, sometimes in a place like that doesn't have convenient levees to drive down, like some district lands or some of the NPS lands, then other strategies are sometimes warranted. But to answer your question, no, it's not just district lands. We're on state and federal county lands now. So project area spans 11 separate counties, and it's really diverse. So we have state parks, we have national parks, we have national wildlife refuges, district lands, commission managed lands. It's really, the project area covers most of our natural areas in South Florida from Lake Okeechobee south. So originally it was exclusively in Miami-Dade County, and now we're consistently, almost every year, adding new project lands through partnerships with different agencies and land managers. And, you know, there's specific area rules that we can accommodate per region. So we're really proud of constantly expanding that project land, and it's really kind of a new concept of a state program on federal land. So we're very proud of that.
So in other words, you're not having problems with Everglades National Park? Your contractors don't have any problems with that? Okay.
No, sir. So they have access to Everglades National Park and Big Cypress National Preserve and Biscayne National Park.
Thank you. Around the table, anyone else? Seeing no one else here, do we have anyone on Zoom?
We do not.
On Zoom? Okay, thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation. All right, next up, the Central Everglades Planning Project North Overview, L5 Canal Improvements. Greg Nolte. He's there, okay.
Thank you. My name's Greg Nolte. I'm the project manager for the SEP North phase. Before I get started, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity for presenting the SEP North project. I'd like to introduce the rest of the team. Holly Jarvisson is another project manager in the Engineering and Construction Bureau. Alexandra Cerna Salazar is the project manager in the Ecosystem Restoration and Planning section. And Mike Albert is with Chen Moore, and he's providing project management and design management services. So together we're the SEP North team, and I think some of the team members may be online tonight. So tonight what we'd like to do is, for the agenda, we'd like to describe the purpose, give an overview of the project, and be able to introduce the different phases for SEP North and provide the details and current and future activities for the program. The SEP project overview. The project purpose is to improve quantity, quality, timing, and distribution of water to the Central Everglades. It's to provide additional water to the northeast corner of the Water Conservation 3A and to reduce the dry out and improved habitat conditions. SEP is comprised of 4 different phases. You have the Everglades agricultural area, which you see to the north in the blue area. You have SEP North, which is along the L5, L4, L5, L6 canal, and then also the Miami Canal down to I-75. You have SEP South, which is shown in the green down here below. And you also have SEP New Water, which is in the pink, which is over here on the eastern side. But tonight we are specifically going to be talking about SEP North, which is the area here in red. SEP North, SEP was authorized by Congress, and they completed the PIR, or the Project Implementation Report, in 2014. SEP North was comprised of 9 different features. We have the S620 structure, an S621 structure, S622 structure. We have an S8 gated culvert and a canal. S630 is a 360 CFS pump station. There's also L4 levee degrades, a Miami Canal backfill, and vegetated hammocks, and also canal improvements to both the L5 remnant canal and the L5 canal. The PIR also consisted of a recreational plan, and this plan, Site E was the recreational access along the L5 canal, and it includes 3 shelters, 2 boat ramps, additional parking, maintains the vehicle crossing across the L5 canal, and public currently has open access to the entire length of the L4, L5 canal, also access to the southern Holy Lands and Rotenberger water management areas. Our intent of the design is to provide these recreational features, maintain minimum public access closures during construction, and as much as possible, and at the end, to improve the hydrological and ecological conditions of the water conservation area in the northwest corner. Our schedule, as you can see, the blue dotted lines are design, and we are under quite a bit of design. The projects are a partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers. The district is taking the lead in the design and the construction, and we are in design of all the features in one fashion or another. And we've started construction right here with the S622 gated culvert. We started construction earlier this year. We are anticipating the end of construction in July of next year. And then our FY24 construction, we're actually looking to start the L5 canal, remnant canal construction in FY24. So as you can see, starting in 24-25, we're going to be under quite a bit of construction that's going to extend all the way into 2030. So that was why we want to be here tonight. We want to introduce SEP North, let you know what's going to be coming down the road with these projects, and get your input on them so we can consider that in design, and also to let you know of different possible closures during design or during construction. The first feature, the L6 diversion and the S620 gated culvert. As I mentioned, we started construction earlier this year in February. This is the southern end of the L6 canal. The L6 canal is along the northwest side of Conservation Area 2A. Our S7 pump station is just right over here off the picture. This is US 27. The picture was taken in August. We're installing some sheet piles and getting ready to start the construction of the culvert. We are coordinating with FWC through our land stewardship folks. We are maintaining public access through the construction site, although there hasn't been too much public moving through that area. There is a waterfowl hunt that is starting at the end of this month, actually, and I think Mike is going to, in his presentation, talk about some temporary access that we've rerouted to be able to get to the Sportsman's Crossings up at G336G. Other projects are the L5 Remnant Canal. The L5 Remnant Canal, which is currently under final design, and we're also looking to build a structure at this location at the west end of the L5 Remnant Canal. That'll be S622. We're under preliminary design with it. With that, in that design, will include kiosk, an open shelter, 2 boat ramps, one on either side of the structure, an upstream, downstream boat ramp, and additional parking there. The S620 structure will become the new crossover from the north levee to the south levee, and the existing earthen plug then will be removed. But the access to the south levee will be maintained. The existing plug will be maintained through construction, and then after construction, then the structure will serve as your crossover. As mentioned, we're targeting construction for the L5 Remnant Canal the summer of 2024, and the start of the S622 structure in the winter of 2024, next year. We will be using this 28-acre parcel south of Griffin Rock Pit to store some of the material, excavated material. We're also targeting this 50-acre parcel to store some of the material also. So we anticipate a lot of construction traffic along the north side of the L5 canal, although we anticipate just temporary lane closures, maybe some flagmen out there directing traffic. We do anticipate some blasting may occur to excavate the canal. We would need to close the road during those activities, but then reopen it after that. We don't anticipate any closures to the STA 3-4 Wildlife Overlook or the Harold Campbell public use area, or closing the south entrance to the Holy Lands Water Management area. And as I mentioned, the crossover will be maintained through construction. We do anticipate, though, that the southern levee along the L5 remnant, it will be closed during construction, as we're going to be placing a lot of the material that is excavated on the south side of that canal, and we're going to be beefing up that canal. I think that's all for those two projects. The next two features, we have the STA gated spillway. It will be a 1,000 CFS inline structure just south of the S8 pump station within the Miami Canal. We're looking to construct a new connecting canal from the Miami Canal to the L4 canal, where we would be able to pump and direct water to the L4 canal for delivery into that northwest corner of the water conservation area. We are currently under design with that. We're targeting construction in FY 25 through 28. We do anticipate that there will be future public recreational access. We'll include a kiosk shelter in that area, and we also recognize that the L4 provides the southern access to Rotenberger, so we're going to do what we can to be able to keep that southern access open and available, but we intend to come back to the recreational forum meeting in the future to give updates, future updates, to keep you informed of any of the design closures there. All right. Additionally, the L4 improvements and distribution features, once the water is directed around into the L4 canal, we're looking at improvements to the L4 canal itself, and then the southern south levee. We'd be installing 3 gated culverts through the south levee to be able to convey that water into the northwest corner of the conservation area. We do anticipate temporary access during temporary access during construction will be coordinated during detailed design with stakeholders. An additional feature is the S630 structure. It provides water supply to the tribal nations and will be designed once the L4 features are designed. Future public recreational access and use will be evaluated as part of the design process, and we are following the PIR, the Authorized Project Implementation Report. Again, we'll be coming back to the Recreational Forum meeting to provide updates as design progresses. These features are all scheduled for design all through next year, so I would imagine that we'd be coming back to this meeting next year a number of times. The L5 Canal expansion, Miami Canal backfill, and the vegetated hammocks. Survey is ongoing. It's going to be complete in November. We actually have a meeting tomorrow with the surveyor for the initial submittal of the survey. So we're coming to a close with the survey. The L5 Canal is under design right now. It was being designed with the L5 remnant canal. We are also working on a scope of work with a consultant to start the conceptual design of the Miami Canal backfill and the vegetated hammocks, and that's to begin later this year. We have met last year with the Recover team and to design and plan for a design planning workshop. It was held in July of 2022. The project will be constructed within the L5 expansion. And additional workshops and stakeholder outreach during the conceptual level of the vegetated will be held for the vegetated hammocks along the Miami Canal. The intent of the design of the Miami Canal is to render this portion of the Miami Canal invisible hydraulically and ecologically at the landscape level. And we recognize that the water, or that the FWC has 53 spoil mounds along the southern end of Miami Canal, south of S339, which will remain. But as part of the design, we are looking to build 13 new vegetated hammocks along the area of Miami Canal. In summary, all projects are under design right now, except for the Miami Canal backfill and the vegetated hammocks. As I mentioned, we're finishing up the survey and getting ready to go into design for that. We are thinking that we will have quite a bit of significant outreach efforts in designing the backfill and vegetated hammocks, so that's to come. Construction activities will cause temporary impacts to recreational users, although the completed SEP North projects will restore all public accesses, will add additional recreational features, and in the end, we are looking to improve the hydrologic and ecological conditions of Water Conservation Area 3A. And with that, any questions?
Thank you. I believe you'll have a few.
Yeah.
There's certain words that really are interesting. Blackfield is one of them, I might add.
Yeah.
I just want to say the most important words in the presentation. Future public recreational access and use will be evaluated as part of the design process following the proposed recreational facilities in the authorized PIR. Authorized PIR. If it is not in the authorized PIR, it will not happen. to get that changed is almost impossible. If this boat ramp is not in the authorized PIR, it will not happen. So what we're going to be looking for when you come back is I want to see where the boat ramps are going to be in the proposed PIR, exactly the locations. Because if we don't have that, I can tell you it takes decades to get access to a place. Because once that PIR goes in, the budget goes in, it goes through Washington, you ain't going to change it. If you change it, then it's got to go all the way back up there to get rebudgeted. Been through that, been there, done that. So I can only emphasize, a lot of people in this room are not going to be happy until they see exactly where the boat ramps are going to be and the parking. So with that, I'll let someone else speak to the subject.
Kyle Archecki, Broward Airboat Club. Yeah, we really need to see where what boat ramps we're going to have, as well as access with full tracks and swamp buggies to get across the new canals and the new structures you're going to put in.
Mm-hmm.
And also access down that L5 levee. I mean, that's a levee I'm on pretty much every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Have a camp out there. That's our main access to get to our camp, along with a lot of other people. You're going to have a lot more traffic than you have on the L6 construction.
Yep. Yeah, we recognize that. And actually, right now, the boat ramps are in design. They will be at the S622 gated culvert, which is at the existing plug. And there'll be a boat ramp, one upstream of the structure, one downstream of the structure. There'll be a kiosk there, there'll be a shelter there, and additional parking in that area. We recognize that there is a lot of access off that L5 canal to the south, and we are working hard in our design to be able, especially on the western L5 portion of it, we're working hard to keep that open at all times. We recognize that it is used quite a bit. So, you're welcome.
What do you think about the location of those boat ramps? Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it wasn't very detailed, but I'd like to take a better look at it.
I think.
Get a map, show them where you're talking about.
This is the current crossover right here south of Griffin Rock Pit, and that's where the earthen plug is. And I know it's difficult, but the structure will be just east of the plug, and then we'll have a boat ramp on the downstream side and a boat ramp on the upstream side.
We have a current boat ramp about 4 miles north of that, or I'm sorry, to the west of that, where all the established trails already go to. Are we going to have that boat ramp as well?
A boat ramp to the south off of
the L5?
Yes.
And then also, obviously, further down, that's about a 15-mile levee. So we need one, there's one currently, probably another 5 miles past that, and then at the pump house, the S5 as well, there's currently access at those points.
Yes, yeah. All existing access will remain. We're not looking to eliminate any access.
And that's for airboats and swamp buggies?
Yes.
Next. Yes, sir. Please state your name. Please state your name for the, we can go back. Please state your name for the record.
Steve Canoyer with the Florida Paddling Association. Has any consideration been given on your new boat ramps to a dedicated kayak launch or a paddle launch? We'd like to stay out of the way of the power boaters and the airboaters if we can, because sometimes we tie up the ramps, we have to load our gear up, whether it's fishing or duck hunting, whatever activity we're participating in. But oftentimes it takes us a while to get set up compared to them. They're loaded up in their boats with all their gear, and they just put it in the water and take off, and we have to unload our boats and pack all our gear in and take off. And oftentimes we, unfortunately, get in the way, and we don't want to. But some of these areas where there's like, those activities are present, it would be nice if we had a dedicated kayak launch. It wouldn't have to be anything really fancy. It could be something as simple as a sandy area where we could launch. But it would keep us out of the way of the power boaters and the air boaters. And let them have the ramps.
Sure, sure. Nothing has been considered to date, but we can certainly entertain the idea and look at it. I can't promise anything, but we'll certainly consider it.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, John Rozier, Full Track Club. Is the S622 structure going to be, I think you just mentioned it, it's going to be now east of where the current crossover is going to be?
Yeah, just east. I mean, I'm talking 100 feet, 150 feet east of the existing earthen plug.
Okay, so basically, it's going to be where the bridge is right now, that as you get into the L5 road, there's a bridge right there, so, and a little canal, so. All right,
It'll be east, the plug is east of the bridge, and the S620 structure will be east of that.
all right, so that's going to be our new crossover.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
And so when you start doing that and you pull that plug out, I know you said you're going to maintain access, which means if we can't go around the construction right now to get onto the L5 levee, like Kyle was saying with his stuff, we got to go all the way to the pump station and come back. So, I know you're going to come back and talk to us about that and that stuff. And my other question was the degradation of the L4 levee. That's going to happen after you put the S8 spillway in?
The S8, the inline structure. Yes. There is a construction sequencing that we have to go through. The downstream culverts, the L4 construction, all that needs to be in place prior to that inline structure. So we have to maintain drainage through the S7 pump station. So we can't plug off the Miami Canal and have no place for the water to go. So the construction sequencing takes that into account. So we'll need the L4 degrade, the culverts all in place before we can construct the inline structure.
And in reference to to boat ramps, I think you're asking a boat ramp like a regular boat ramp. What we're talking about, the ramps that are out there go south, and they don't go into a canal or anything. They go into swamp. So that's what we're talking about when we're saying boat ramps, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so just so everybody understands it, it's not a boat ramp that goes into a canal, unless you're going to put a new one into the L5 canal.
No, we are putting new ones into the L5 canal. Those are the two new ones that are going into the L5 canal. And the access to the water conservation area, those will remain.
Yeah, because that was a big question too, if
Yeah.
they're going to stay. And just for the record, because I got phone calls all this past week, there is no canal going south of the L5 levee, correct?
A canal south of the L5 levee, not that I'm
You just
aware
answered my
of.
question.
Not that I'm aware
Right,
of.
because the SEP project, we threw that
No.
out. That was one of the first things that got thrown out. So just so everybody that's listening on Zoom, and we get it on record, there is no canal going south of the L5 levee that will restrict access.
No, not the L5, not the L5. Now there is, as part of the L4, here, we have the three culverts. We are looking to relocate the L4 levee just a little bit farther to the south, and then there'll be a spreader swale on the south side of that south levee that the culverts will be discharging into. So, but that canal will run parallel to and just south of the south levee.
That I'm aware of from.
Okay.
I sat here with, and Seth when we were doing all that stuff, so
Yep.
I'm aware of all that stuff, so.
Correct.
I was just, like I said, I got phone calls, and I'm sure Kyle got phone calls too about, oh, they're gonna close the canal, they're gonna, you know, blah, 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 blah. So all we would ask also is during construction, that if, I know, I explained to them that the L5 improvements, that was always in the program. You gotta make it deeper and maybe a little wider or something like that.
Correct.
That if you're gonna be doing blasting and stuff like that, maybe during hunting season, I don't know if that's, you know, to ask, maybe they won't do it for that short period of time. You know, I don't know how much blasting is gonna go on, so. So those might be some considerations, but if you have more meetings and we get together, we can talk about that and get it done.
Work those details.
so.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John. You're okay now? All right? Anyone else? Last call, Zoom?
We have no hands raised on Zoom.
No one on Zoom.
So, before y'all leave, why don't you two get your phone numbers exchanged with Greg, so that as you get calls, you can call Greg and get just first line, conversations with him.
Absolutely.
Somebody hears something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kyle even looked up the original plan, says nothing about that.
Right. Well, y'all two are getting the calls, so I just want you guys to have someone to call directly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. We'll get together.
Hey, I was glad to see the hammocks being built on the degraded canal. Where's the fill going to come for the canal?
I'm sorry, where's the fill going to come from the backfill? The excavated material out of the L5 canal will be used to backfill the Miami Canal.
Because I can assure you, when you knock the levees down, they don't fill the canals. We've been through that one. But
They know that, Newton. I was at that recreational meeting. I was the only non-NGO person there that was invited. So we had a great discussion about the Miami Canal being filled in the 13 that they want to put. And that was one of the biggest, in fact, I think Greg, he was in that group I was in.
Yep, yeah, we were.
And so we had some really good ideas. But yes, part of the L4, they're going to use that, and they're still going to have to bring fill in. In fact, they decided that now they're not going to fill the mud canal in. They don't have enough fill to do it. So the mud canals, the remnants of the mud canal are still going to be there too.
Well, a little update on that. We are expecting to have excess fill material. So we are expecting to have some excess material, and that's one of the issues that we're working through right now.
every bit of excess material that could make a tree island should be immediately piled up. We need all the tree islands and drier land out there we can get, because it's all been flooded out, as Mr. Bergeron will tell you over and over again. Okay, folks, are we done with
All right.
this?
Thank you.
The only one on Zoom. Thank you very much. Okay, next item, recreation facility design and project updates from Mike Cheek, the recreation project manager, our right-hand guy, I might add.
Okay, thanks, Newton. Thanks, Greg, for that update on SEP. So as usual, I have kind of a wide assortment of project updates from all over the district, so no particular theme to the presentation. Just talk about some of the things we've talked about in previous meetings, the Kissimmee River navigation signage update, the closure detour that Greg mentioned at access to the Everglades WMA at Sportsman's Crossing. Just briefly talk about the closing and reopening of some WMAs that we did for Hurricane Idalia. And the Ocean Lake Trail has now reopened again in Cypress Creek. We had some public interest in learning a little bit more about the invasive exotic sedge Wright's nut rush, so we'll talk about that. And briefly what Drew mentioned earlier in the meeting about the STA Public User Education Outreach that we're partnering with FWC on. And we did install those 2 new boat-in campsites on the river and 1 day use area that we talked about last meeting. And as Drew mentioned, also the S356 boat ramp has now been completed and open for use. And we'll talk about STA waterfowl hunting access trails that were put in earlier this month. So just a quick update on the navigation signage on the river. It has almost come to fruition. The contract award should be literally the end of this week, hopefully expected, with a notice to proceed by the end of October. So that installation will begin sometime this dry season. We don't have a clear date on that until the notice to proceed is issued to the contractor. But just be aware of that area. Navigation will remain open on the river, but you'll see barges, equipment throughout the dry season. So when you come across that area, which I'll show here, again, this is to install signs where the riprap was installed to solidify the backfill. It's not an issue when the water's down, but once the floodplain's inundated, that riprap disappears, and it could just be a couple inches underwater. So it can be hazardous to outboards and things running over that. And so in the meantime, though, we do have temporary signage that was installed at all the boat ramps in the vicinity of where the work's occurring. It looks just like this. We tacked some temporary signs, and you can see these red diamonds. This is where the riprap is. There's just one patch up here at the northern end of the Phase 1 backfill near the Istapoga Canal boat ramp, and the rest is concentrated down here near the U.S. Highway 98 bridge. These red diamonds are where the riprap is and where the signs will be installed. And again, this is a temporary sign that's out there at all the boat ramps in the vicinity, just warning boaters of that area. So switching gears, completely different location. This is STA 2, and related to what Greg was talking about. At the bottom of the image there, you can see the construction currently ongoing at the S620 down here at the bottom. So that area is currently off limits. They don't want people accessing the Sportsman's Crossover like normal, do that ongoing construction. But we did, thanks to Greg and the project managers, coordinating with the contractor, we have this bypass in yellow. And this bypass will be open on Saturdays and Sundays only, starting this weekend. Hopefully, we'll get out there installing signage, directing people where to go. They'll cross the Ocalante Bridge, coming off of US 27, down the side of the STA. And instead of going down towards the 620, there'll be a bypass here bringing you through the construction trailer area. So the contractors do have their construction trailers there and equipment. And you'll cross through there back over to the L6 canal, and you can reach Sportsman's Crossover that way on weekends only, Saturday and Sunday until further notice. So this is good. I mean, we felt like this is a compromise to be able to access the area. So just please be respectful of the contractor's equipment here at this juncture where I'm highlighting there. They'll have their trailers and things there. And just a quick word about closing WMAs, district-managed WMAs. In anticipation of Hurricane Idalia, it was coming in as a Category 3 in the Big Bend area, but still could have caused damage. Luckily, we averted any significant impacts in the South Florida Water Management District, but we did nonetheless. We closed Crew in Lee County, Kisso and Lake Marion Creek, WMAs in Polk County, as well as the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes in Osceola. But again, we did reopen them as quickly as possible after the all clear was given on August 30th at 5 p.m., just really a day and a half later. And so we did have a quick turnaround time on getting these properties back open prior to hunting seasons being upcoming. For example, Crew muzzle loading gun was just coming up that following weekend. So we are considering the amount of effort that goes into people making plans and scouting and things ahead of quota hunts, especially. And this is just an update on that restoration work that was done in Cypress Creek. This is at the border with Palm Beach and Martin counties. I mentioned last meeting they were doing some Brazilian pepper removal here around the trail, and we did a buffer zone around the Ocean to Lake Trail spur here that goes under I-95 and the Turnpike. That work was completed, so the trail is now back open. They'll have to come back to finish the restoration, or there's still Brazilian pepper out there that needs to be removed. But the trail should remain open for that next issue. And this is just a quick note on Wright's Nut Rush. It's a highly invasive exotic that continues expanding, especially in Lake Okeechobee. We're seeing larger patches of this. It's an annual. It spreads by seed. It's a Category 1 invasive with the Florida Exotic Pest Plants Council's levels of invasion, and it's highly invasive. That's the worst category, obviously. It's not a new invasion. It's first recorded in 1988. It's invading seasonal wetlands. The native range is the Caribbean, Central and South America, and it's expanding, like I said, rapidly. The vouchered specimens are in the counties here in the map on the bottom right, but that's just would have been confirmed, that we know for certain it's in many more counties than that currently, and rapidly expanding. That's the inflorescences you see here in the picture, the large flowering bracts that come up above the marsh. And one of the characteristics is that W-shaped pleat in the leaf, as opposed to more of a V shape in many leaves. And you can see on the right there how it can take over completely areas and form a monoculture. And the edges of those leaves are very sharp, like sawgrass almost, so it's a very distinctive character of them. There's a lot of this on the upper chain of lakes, I'm sure some of you guys know. This is just a zoom in on the seed head, this little akene kind of characteristics. When you see the inflorescence, look like little white golf balls there. If you cut a leaf stem in a cross section, it's a triangular stem typical of a sedge. And the base is spongy and red, and a rather large sedge at that. And again, on the left side, you can see how it can take over large areas of wet prairie. And on the right, it's just an illustration of how some patches can exist in smaller, expanding areas. And I mean, one thing as a public user, if you're running an airboat in the fall when these things are flowering, you can kind of stick to more of the open water, for example, in this image. So you're not picking up all those achenes in your boat as you're running through. That can potentially help reduce the spread of these. And it's difficult to manage, so to be honest, there's not a lot of effort right now at managing it. It's difficult to get a hold of. If you treat early before it goes to seed, that can be helpful. But unfortunately, you have to use non-selective herbicides, which end up killing everything around it as well. Clipping and bagging seed heads is obviously labor-intensive. Excuse me. So not really realistic in a big area. And again, like I said, avoid driving airboats over it when seeding with the large seed heads. And then rinsing boats inside and out before and after launching is always helpful. Got a little frog in my throat here. This is another thing Drew mentioned in the beginning, the public outreach and education effort that we were doing here. We're going to put out this information on the FWC STA waterfowl hunting site at myfwc.com. And you'll see some images, for example, on the upper right there, basically showing the diagram of how these STAs work. It'll provide people looking at it with what the purpose of the STAs is, the phosphorus reduction, the water treatment goals of the STAs, how they're engineered and designed, why they are built that way, and including the planting designs, why there's certain species growing in certain cells, upstream or downstream of the flow, to increase that phosphorus reduction at the downstream areas. Then, of course, with emphasis for public users, the best management practices. For anyone going in and out of these properties, we've talked before about these short circuits that James has mentioned in the past, how that could potentially have a negative impact on the phosphorus reduction. And so again, just to quickly go over those best management practices we've talked about before, entering and exiting the levees and interior cells at designated entrances to have the least impacts on the treatment process and any sensitive areas within the STA. So for example, any monitoring ongoing research or any monitoring stations. Always pack out what you pack in. Trash, drink containers, shell casings, bait containers, fishing lines. Anything you bring in, please pack out with you. And avoid introducing hitchhiker vegetation related to that scleria we mentioned, the nut rush and other species. Just make sure all your equipment's clean, kayaks, decoys. Make sure they're free of vegetation before you enter the property. And we're also working on a short video, 3 to 4 minute video that will show a lot of this information. So it'll be handy for users. Oh, thanks. All right, thanks, Molly. And so related to that, this is a good news item here. We talked about potentially putting in access trails in the STAs, and we were able to do that in early September. This is a marsh master. Went out, some of the veg management folks, and crushed these large cattails to allow increased or improved access to the better duck hunting quality spots. And this was done based on aerial surveys that were done earlier in the season to determine where the best access points would be. This was a coordination with FWC, our veg management folks, as well as the public use and recreation. So really good coordination. It's not just one person deciding where these trails went. It's a combination, obviously, of having the trails being perpendicular to flow, which is very key in keeping the integrity of the STA phosphorus reduction goal in mind. And so we'll see how this goes with this hunting season, and we'll keep a look on the trails, see if they're maintained open by people going in and out of them, see if they need any touch-up treatments or anything. And not every quota hunting point will have an access trail. If it's just a narrow gap that's easily makeable, then a trail was not installed. So not everyone is going to have this nice little path going into their hunting ground. And again, the purpose of this is to facilitate entry and exit into these prime SAV habitats, SAV being submerged aquatic vegetation, where a lot of the waterfowl likes to feed and forage, and decrease the likelihood of creating these damaging preferential flow paths or short circuits, which we've heard about before. And you can see that image on the right there. That's just kind of illustrating the negative impacts of a potentially short circuit. You can see someone went in, this was, I believe, from last year. Someone went in off a levee they shouldn't have, created this flow path potentially. It's parallel with flow. Sheet flow should be going through this STA unit with a similar velocity, but when you have this open water created by this trail that went in here, you could have increased velocities, potentially altering the nutrient content downstream, and then potentially affecting what that monitoring gauge at the outflow structure would read and give you a false reading of maybe higher or lower phosphorus levels. And that's very important because these are legally mandated phosphorus loads that we're trying to get down. So these trails should hopefully avoid some of that. And the S356 boat ramp, as Drew said, is now open for business. And this is meant to replace the boat ramp just to the left of the S356 pump station in the background here. This is off the Tamiami Trail, Miami-Dade County. And during construction, upcoming the next 5 years, the S356 pump station, that boat ramp that's out of the picture here there will be no more access there. So this is meant to replace that. This is when they're putting in the sod here in these images. This was completed in August. The 57 stone, there's a concrete lined bottom of the ramp with a little turnaround space, and there's parking along the canal there, the Tamiami Trail. This, just a quick note on our special use license system for camping reservations. We've had issues in the past of many unused camping reservations when the time comes for the weekend, when people are out there during the November through April camping season. A lot of people book a reservation, never show up, and the camp hosts are saying, it says we're booked, but you go to the campsite and then half the sites are open. So that was keeping people from booking. So now we've added an automatic text message that's going to go to folks, just kind of like your doctors do nowadays. Are you going to make the appointment or not? And we'll have that opportunity at 2 weeks before your reservation, and then again 72 hours prior. So that way those sites could be reopened to someone else that will actually show up. So that should be an improvement to our licensing system there. And related to camping, as I mentioned last meeting, we did install these boat-in only sites on the Kissimmee River. These are both south of Highway 98. This first one is Chandler Slough boat-in site. And these are, you can't access these on foot or anything. The next one is south of the railroad tracks at Seaboard Marsh South. And part of this was partly to have evenly spaced campsites along the river in anticipation of getting a Florida Paddling Trail Association Blueway designation. And in this case, this will give you a full 79-mile route from Lake Kissimmee to Lake Okeechobee with a relatively equidistant paddling distance between these campsites. And these campsites are available to everyone, all boating, outboard, airboats, canoes, kayaks, etc. And so we're looking forward to those, see if those get used this fall and winter, when weather gets better. Again, the primitive sites, the picnic table, fire ring is all that's out there, and the reservations could be made at our special use license site here online. Again, boat access only. The nearest boat ramps are at 4Es to the north upstream, and then S65D downstream to get to these properties. And also at the same time we did these, we also officially designated a day use area at Turkey Hammock, picnic table, fire ring. Still need to get a fire ring out there. This is closer to the Istapoga Canal boat ramp. There's no overnight camping. It's meant as a day use area. It's really airboat access only, as it's out on the floodplain. And the nearest boat ramp here is Istapoga Canal upstream and 4Es downstream. And many thanks to the volunteers that helped set these sites up in one day, and a weekday nonetheless. So thanks to the Florida Paddling Trail Association, as well as the Florida Sportsmen's Conservation Association. These folks showed up on a Wednesday to help us get everything installed. This is airboats launching on a very dry floodplain, putting a very heavy picnic table on an airboat. They ran out dry to the day use area, put in signage. This beautiful spot that was already popular with folks that were going out there. And then we had another separate group downstream loading up outboards with these picnic tables. This is the Seaboard Marsh South boat-in site from the outside. After the signage and picnic table were installed, it's a pretty area. A lot more treed than the northern parts of the river, so it's a lot of shade in the cypress and oak hammock. This is just setting up the Chandler Slough boat-in site. This is right where the natural Chandler Slough comes out into the system. And none of this would be possible without the volunteers getting this out there, so we really appreciate your time, especially during a weekday, to come out and make this happen. This is the Chandler Slough site, just from the water. And again, huge thanks to the Florida Paddling Trail Association and the Florida Sportsmen's Conservation Association. These two groups came together on September 6th and got the job done. What would have taken staff probably a full week of going in and out, running equipment out, and we knocked it out in not even a full day's work. So really appreciate the cooperation. And that's it for now. Thanks to Bishop Wright, Matt Nelson with the Sportsman's Conservation, and then I believe Steve and Dorsey are here from the Paddling Trail Association. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your help, guys. Really appreciate it. That's it, and unless there's any questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say how much we appreciate the paths, I don't even like to call them trails, at the SDAs in an attempt to help the duck hunters access the ponds that are now quite a ways off the levees through the cattails. And I haven't had any reports back on that yet. Just early season, it's a pretty tough season. It's hot and buggy, and a lot of people, in fact, about half the permits, I think, showed up this last weekend. But we appreciate the attempt, and I know it's going to make it a lot easier on people and probably prevent a lot of damage to places where everybody's just trying to push through whatever way they can. All right, with that, again, any comments or questions? Let's start to the left. Bishop?
I just want to say, wow. You know, a boat ramp to replace another boat ramp. Thank you, staff. I'm not a duck hunter, which all y'all know, but to see y'all cutting trails for the duck hunters, wow, wow, wow. You know, giving those campsites on the river in the day use area, and, you know, wow. I can't tell you how privileged I am to sit at this table and see that, you know, we don't just talk about things, we get it done here. And thanks to everybody that comes to this table, everybody that participates on Zoom, and thanks again. While we're on this subject, though, I'd like to get into the discussion of maybe doing a pavilion at that day use area one day. I think the Florida Sportsmen would like to be involved in trying to figure out a way we could do that, similar to what the Kissimmee Club's done. And what we've done, we've already got a couple pavilions on that river floodplain. We have a real nice one in Dupree that we've done. So we'd like to look at getting another one, maybe in that day use area if possible. But I'd like to talk about that. And I talked to Dan Cotter too about maybe trying to get a boat ramp in Area 2B. I don't know if he's talked to any of y'all, but I'll revert back to him. But we'd like to talk about that and sit down and try to figure out, well, if we could do something across that structure down out to the east of there.
Thank you, Bishop. Going around, anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. You state your name and when you speak. Thank you.
Hey, Dorsey DeMaster, Florida Paddling Trails Association. I want to echo that wow. Before my butt was sitting in a kayak, I spent over 38 years in aviation. I was working in Washington, D.C., doing very much collaborative efforts in working for the National Airspace System. This is the equivalent, if not better than that. So hats off to all of you for all the work that's being done here. This is remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Coming on around. Anyone else? Last chance here. Tom?
I just want to say thanks to Drew. We were in a meeting with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they were talking about 356 and all that. And the boat ramp that was going away was not an official boat ramp, and even though it's been used for years and years and years, and they said, well, we can't replace it. And Drew said, well, heck, we're going to do it. So, and you did, and I really thank you for providing that new access, additional access, replacing traditional access, even though it wasn't an official boat ramp, but adding that access is going to be, is great. Thank you for getting it done so fast. And I had a call today, someone saying, hey, this thing looks great. So I told them to come out there and see Drew on Friday and give him a thank you yourself.
And don't think me, it was easy for me. I was like, Rory?
Mike, as always, thank you very much. You've got an amazing amount of things to juggle. And from those of us that use that, the KCOL and the Kissimmee River a lot, thank you for staying on top of that navigation situation. Drew was very helpful and instrumental in us getting this WebEx once a month with the Army Corps. And that was a conversation today. Every meeting we've had with them, that's been a conversation because it's a huge issue. They did say, like, as you stated, that by the end of the week they would have a contract in place. It's a little ironic that that's their year end. They might even have to sign it on Saturday yet. The concerning part, and I'm going to circle back with them, and I'd appreciate if you'd keep up, was they did put a year performance in there, which, here we are now 2 years into this thing. But thank you for staying on top of that. It's a crucial thing, and it's a huge liability and navigational thing. So thank you guys, and thank you, Drew, for what you did to help set this up, because it's working with the Army Corps. Much as this forum works, it really does help.
Anyone on Zoom?
We have none on Zoom.
Thank you. Hey, people are quiet out there tonight, for sure. Okay, thank you. Never mind. We have plenty of time, but I doubt if we're going to use it all because so much has been covered already. But we're down to the last item on the agenda, which is where we go around the table again, and on Zoom, if someone would like to make a comment. And what we're looking here for is for something that you'd like to see at the next meeting, a presentation. We are always looking for a stakeholder presentation from airboat hikers or bikers, or it's been a while, we had the stargazers in one time. So anyone like that would like to make a suggestion that would be well received. And so we'll just start, and from the left, and Tom?
Yeah, Tom Reiner at FWC. I want to thank Broward County Parks because they gave us the space to do the Python Challenge Awards, but also because they've agreed to take on one of those ramps on US 27. And we're getting so much closer to that. You guys know I've been working on that for years. DOT has repaved it and striped it, and FWC boat ramp crew ran out and did some whatever improvements they could do. So we're hoping, for a soft open sometime soon. And then the Broward County Parks is going to, over time, apply for FBIP grants from FWC to really, really spruce it up. But we're getting a lot closer, guys, to getting one of those 2 ramps reopened. It's the one directly across from Sawgrass. The northern of the 2 that have been closed off for years now, so. No, that's the south one, yeah. So fingers crossed, guys, we're getting there. But I'm pleased to that. And thank you to the district and FDOT. Even though they closed it for years, they did agree to do some work there before turning it over to Broward County Park. And Broward County did approve a resolution to take it on, so we're getting there. So I just want to make you guys aware of that.
That's been a difficult challenge, and it's very much appreciated. A lot of different angles people have been working. A boat ramp in South Florida has a tremendous amount of impact on access to hundreds of thousands of acres. I mean, it might not seem a lot, but one boat ramp or maybe 2 might be all the access there is to a 100,000 acre marsh. That's it. And if you don't have a boat ramp, that marsh is no public access, 0. And that's what this group is supposed to work to have, is to be sure we get public access. Okay, next go around. Yes, right.
I'd like to thank James Harbaugh and those folks in staff and show a situation that works out like it should on behalf of Central Florida sportsmen and taxpayers. There's a boat ramp that we had a conversation about. I know you've had it with Bishop and some other folks. The boat ramp was built by the Army Corps, probably overbuilt, but underbuilt for longevity. And the poly type product that should have been on the dry airboat ramp was really just wood. Of course, we all know what happens in Florida, and huge lag bolts and stuff extending, which is detrimental to hulls and people. And I think a lot of times an agency would just look at, how do we take this apart and build it back right? And there we have it. And it would be an extreme amount of money. What we found was, when he called and said, hey, can we check with some local sportsmen? We literally did. Went and found some people towing boats. Jerry Bridges ran into a guy one morning at a Wawa changing a tire bearing about 5:30, went and got his opinion, right? And really went and asked people on the street. And the answer was, look, we could get by with a grass airboat launch, but boy, the boat ramps really got some severe problems. So we can maybe come up with something that fixes both for the same amount of money. And that's probably not how most agencies would have done it, had it not been for a forum like this or relationships like we have. They would have looked at, here's this big problem, and we'd have spent, let's call it $50,000. We'd have still had a problem on the other ramp nobody even knew about. So by outreach and by a forum like this and relationships, and Rory's always so good about reaching out, we found that here's the real fix, and for a sum of money, we can handle both projects. And I think those things should be noted, because that's not, folks look down, we all go, oh, Lord, here comes an agency of some kind. And in this room, and this group shines, and it's because of those relationships.
Thank you. Next, Bishop.
And Drew, I wanted to really thank you for that boat ramp. I know you were the one that spearheaded that. And I just want to go back to it and also say, we don't need $1 million boat ramp. And that was my word. We just need a place that we can physically launch a boat. And that is one of the sad parts about airboaters, is we've got several airboat ramps that really are just a place you go over and throw the boat off the side of the road and go in. And we just need to make sure they're all documented. And we've been trying to do that. And we do need to sit down and talk about some boat ramps that need some repairs. We were talking about that before the meeting, and maybe we'll get with y'all and go over some of them. But we did that, I don't know, about 10 years ago, Newton. And it's probably time to revisit that situation again. But again, thank you, staff. And it's great to sit at this table.
John?
Yeah, John Rozier. Camping at the pump station, which disappeared after some events happened, and we more or less took care of that problem. Tom Reinhardt was very instrumental in that. We got some rule changes to prevent that type of activity. So traditionally, during hunting season, people came down from the West Coast and all, and they would camp around the pump station for, for buggy season and the other seasons also. And because of this event this last year, which got a little out of control, some rules were made, which the sportsmen, the people that are out in that area, we all agreed to. It seemed to be very effective. But at the same time, South Florida Water Management put all these signs around the pump station, the S8 pump station, by the way, that's what I'm talking about, that no camping allowed. And directly north of the pump station across the bridge is a big, large area where a lot of people, that's where they camped. And also to the west, there's a couple big areas. So nobody really camped right next to the pump station. They didn't block access across, into Rotenberger and the Miami River and all. So what I would like to do is maybe work with staff or something that we can help alleviate so we could get camping back in that area. Because right now, the guys, we have a couple people from the West Coast that are going to come over and hunt for buggy season. And they're like, where are we going to camp? Because they like camping there. Traditionally, that's where a lot of people have camped. So I don't know what the solution is. Me and Kyle had talked about it, maybe a permit system or maybe something to limit it. And I can't guarantee that what happened here this past year, well, no, it didn't happen this past year, I take it back, the year before. I can't guarantee that will not happen again, but that is not the people that traditionally want to camp there. That's like a one-time event. But like I said, I think we pretty well got that it's not coming back. So something that staff, we can look at, or you can, whatever you want to do. But basically, they took the whole, where the pump station is. In fact, when you come off the L5 levee, there's a sign right there, no camping beyond this point. And that's a good 300-400 feet away from the pump station. Not that anybody camped right there. And across the canal, which has got nothing to do with those guys. And I understand why they did it. There was a lot of trash and some other stuff. So I would like to, like I said, work with staff or whatever so we can get the camping back on some type of, even if it's a limited basis or whatever, because it's a large area. It's not like we're having 50 campers there. It's probably only, maybe a half a dozen at the most, guys that camp there, because they also camp down on the power poles. Guys camp there. Guys camp at the original crossover, which is going to go away. But camp in that area there. So they can camp down next to the canal, but then they got to go up the levee with the, it's not easy. So we have this big, large area there that now is no camping allowed. Signs are everywhere. So, like I said, if we could look into that, maybe make a compromise or work, see what works for y'all that won't, and to be honest, if it happens again, you guys are within your right to say, listen, we did this, it's still happening, so, that'll be on us. So, that's it.
So, yeah, I would engage these two on that conversation. It's not lost on anybody how important our pump stations are to us. So, but I hear the request, and so, I hear you're talking about limited and talking about controlled and things like that. So, but yeah, these are the guys to work with on that. So, and we'll engage on it. I don't know what the answer is, but let's do that.
Thanks. Very good. Very good. And moving on around. Anyone else? Anyone else? Zoom?
Yes, we have one hand raised on Zoom. Paul Gray. Mr. Gray, would you please unmute your mic?
Hi, folks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Paul Gray from Audubon, Florida. I don't have a whole lot to say. I just want my boss to know I sat through the meeting tonight. But no, seriously, I've been involved with this committee since it formed a long time ago. And I was on the same committee that Newton and Danny Brantley were reminiscing about for the Kissimmee Chain of Lakes. And I just want to say that over the years, in the good old days when this committee first started, there were a lot of angry people in the room. And to hear how we've progressed and how everybody around this table, whether it's the agencies or the user groups, are all talking to each other. And, we don't always get what we want, but we have a genuine dialogue going of give and take. It's really commendable that this committee or this forum, whatever it is working this well. And I'm just really happy to see it. So anyway, just congratulations, Newton, on having a successful committee, and thanks for everybody for participating. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Dr. Paul Gray is the #1 expert in Lake Okeechobee, in case anybody doesn't know that. And God bless him, works for Audubon. And he's a real advocate for the lake. Okay, anyone else on Zoom?
No, Mr. Cook.
All right, folks, I don't see any hands up. Anybody exciting events? I just want to thank everyone for coming, and thank you for the people who come maybe for the first time. We want you back. I think you saw tonight how much it can be accomplished here. And we appreciate the people on Zoom who are out there, because it is the number of people that are interested and makes this thing work. It can't work unless they got a lot of stakeholders. And anybody out there on Zoom, if you are part of a stakeholder group and you'd like to come and make a presentation, just contact Molly here, and she will get you listed. So, everyone, we're adjourned.
Thank you for your leadership, Newton.